Hello, good evening, and welcome to A Bike at Wonderland ABW Radio Live. My name is Kris. You might have forgotten me because I've not been around for a little bit of time. Lack of commitment is what I blame on that one. Sorry about that, but I'm back now, so you can all hell abuse at me again. I'm joined by just the two this evening because Danny's only just got out of bed. First of all, the bearded wonder himself, John Welsh. Evening, John.
Hello.
Are you well, sir?
Yeah.
Living the dream. Also joined by Tim Hargraves in South Africa. You right, Tim?
Anthony Taylor is a tit. Yes, I'm good.
So there we go. Anyone who's on referee count as to how long it would take Tim, the answer was about 30 seconds. So anyone with 30 seconds wins.
Not even.
Not even, no. Straight in. Right, gents. First thing I've got to say is, sorry, I had to touch the Louis Vuitton there. Sorry about that. Right, we haven't got a lot to talk about really. We haven't scored for 3 games. There's nothing to talk about. We'll just go through the basics of the game. We'll see if we can make wine out of water, which is ironic, being budget cheese. But let's see what we can pull out of tonight's debacle. Let's start with Tim. Tim, what did you make of the game, other than Anthony Taylor? What did you make of the general sort of game, and how were you sort of left feeling after tonight?
It was a fantastic sleeping aid. I've had to have 2 cups of coffee to keep me awake after that match. Aside from that, one of the stats I found interesting, the first half, we'd completed 389 passes, or rather attempted 389 passes. And we still managed to stuff up 11% of them. That means 40 passes have gone awry. That number seems kind of high, doesn't it? 40 misplaced passes in one half.
Not the greatest, is it?
Not so hot. That's not so hot. I think probably most of them were from Ramsey and Giroud. Ramsey seemed to give the ball away quite a lot in the first half. I was actually a little bit annoyed when Wilshere was pulled off. I can understand why, because of fitness concerns. But I was hoping that they'd move Wilshere into the middle so he could actually make a run at Sunderland's 5-man bus at the back there, which was clearly not moving. I was hoping Jack could do one of his nice little mazy runs into the box and maybe draw a foul off of the defender henceforth known as John O'Shit at the back, who of course managed to have a bloody worldie today.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? As did Coates as well.
Yeah, jeez. I mean, always, every time a goalkeeper comes to Arsenal, he has a bloody worldie.
Yeah. Unless it's Paul Robinson, of course. John, do you? I mean, well, there's a few things we'll go into about the game in a minute, but what's your general sort of feeling about tonight? I mean, are you overly bothered? I've seen a mixed reaction from people. Some people are, setting fire to their shirts and burying their heads in the sand as if the world is going to end, and other people have just gone, meaningless game. Sunderland came, got what they needed. How are you sort of feeling about it all? Nothing, apparently. Okay. Are you there, John? Are you alive, John? Come in, John. Help me, John. Right, while John's away. While John's coming back, Tim, what's your general emotions of, do you same question that I put to John really? I mean, do you feel sort of bothered in any way, shape, or form, or is it just like meh, whatever?
I am a little bit bothered, yes. It shows we're not there. There you go, John's dropped out.
I'll add him back.
Yeah, I am a little bit bothered because it shows that we're still battling to break down defensively resolute teams. We keep trying to do the same thing. How many times in the second half did Sanchez attempt that nice little dink over the central defenders? I stopped counting at 20. And, after 20 times, you should kind of figure that is not working. They're seeing it every time. Try something else. And tonight, I think we had precious few runners actually making good, solid runs into the middle of the box, which I think was a problem because Sunderland's defence really were there for the taking, quite honestly. I think if they'd played a ball into Wiltshire, if he'd been put into the middle and he'd gotten on one of those nice little runs, he could have maybe drawn a foul, which would have helped. I thought Taylor was actually pretty awful with some of his refereeing. That utter scarce idiot, Beglin, was doing commentary on this side. I don't know who you had that side, but we had John Champion and that Git Beglin. That time when Giroud went over in the box, then quite late in the second half, it was about 70-odd minutes, where he said, "Oh no, Giroud's pushed him over there." No, he hasn't, you blind git. The Sunderland guy pushed him. Giroud fell into the other guy. I mean, hello. It was a nice little push from the aforementioned John O'Shit. Ugh. No, they're not a good team, Sunderland. They should have been relegated tonight. We really should have sent him down, quite honestly.
I suppose I suppose when you when you look at the overall situation of the game, I mean, Sunderland came needing the point. They got what they needed. To be fair, they threatened really, barring probably 3 very good Ospina saves, I thought, which I'll come on to in a bit. But barring that, they had chances. They didn't just do a Swansea. Nothing against Swansea, because again they did a job on us. But I know John said, which hopefully when he comes back we'll elaborate on. But I know John said during the game that he felt that sort of teams almost worked us out a little bit, and almost the problem that we were going through at the start of the season, where teams were coming and setting up and frustrating us, and we couldn't find a way out of it. What's your sort of view on this sort of whole always going through the middle thing? I mean, it's beautiful when it works. Sunderland being the case in point when Rosicky scored that goal last season, but when it doesn't work, it does kind of suggest a little bit of a lack of a plan B at times, doesn't it?
Good evening, Tom.
Yes, I've drafted Tom in to cover John just in case.
Yes, I see he's there. We need kind of an alternative, but tonight would have been one of those cases where I would say running through the middle might have actually been better. Because if you watched most of our attacks, they were coming from overlaps from Gibbs and Sanchez through both halves, and on the left-hand side, and on the right earlier on from Wilshere and Bellerin. Unfortunately for us, it was Wilshere that was out wide, and he likes to cut in. So it was one coming off of the wide side, drifting into the middle. But the problem was the angles he was taking just weren't coming off because he was coming in from wide. If he'd been able to get straight on and run straight at defenders, holding onto the ball a little bit, he could have drawn us something. But we won very few fouls in that match. There's not really that much to say on it. We need guys who can effectively push wide and cross the ball, which we don't really have too many of at the moment. We've got Bellerin at right back, but then if he goes forward for the cross, that leaves us vulnerable defensively to the long ball, which of course Jermaine Defoe tried as soon as Bellerin went forward in the second half. Defoe, that bastard, managed to kick that very nice ball forward to Fletcher, which again, like you said, forced a world-class save out of Ospina, because he just completely negated our defensive positioning. That's the problem. Yeah.
It's a tough one to sort of work out in a weird way. Let's go into some guts of the game. First things first. Evening, Tom. You're on mute, Tom.
I think he's on.
We can't win tonight, can we? We can't win. Can you hear me, Tom?
Am I? Can you hear me?
Yes, there he is.
Okay.
The whore of the week is back on live.
We're just so on form tonight. It's unbelievable.
Oh dear. And John, you're back with us, are you?
Yeah, internet died. Sorry about that.
Good stuff. Bloody.
And you dying last week anyway.
Yeah, very good point. You can't rely on that bloody London internet, can you, John? It's terrible.
Well, it's generally terrible in Essex, yeah.
It's pretty much terrible anywhere in the UK. Try getting 4G in Plymouth. Anywho, Right, let's. Tom, I'll come to you first of all, then, and then I'll go back to where I was with John previously. Tom, what was your general sort of feeling on the game? Just a sort of a short overview, and I'll say the same I said to Tim. Are you frustrated? Are you not bothered? Is it a mixture of the two?
Well, I'm frustrated, and I think there's a big difference between us being poor and us being frustrating, because I don't think we were necessarily poor. I just didn't think we provided the right service. I mean, I put on the chat to you guys. Literally, if you saw a heat map of the game, it would probably be a big horseshoe around their box, because we just seemed to be passing it around their area, and instead of trying to put a cross into our striker. And people are moaning about Giroud, but at the end of the day, his biggest attribute is his heading and his strength, and we just weren't utilising that area of his play, and it was really frustrating. So, John, I don't know if, what your thoughts are on that.
I just thought it was poor in general. The shooting was terrible. I made some notes, and I think the biggest one I made was that, which I don't know if you can see, which is hashtag shooting coach out. It was fucking awful. Yeah. I just got pissed off for the whole game, to be honest.
On that point, John, and that's a beautiful segue lined up there. With regards to shooting, I saw a couple of tweets during the game, and a couple of people sort of saying, I'll be honest, it's boring me a bit now, where everyone's saying, oh, we need a world-class striker. Now, my argument to that is, I watch a different game to everyone else, I'm not sure. But granted, I think Olivier Giroud, that's Tommy making an appearance in the background there. Granted, Olivier Giroud looks to me like a player who's probably, not so much burnt out, but I think the efforts he's put in the last couple of months has almost come into that stage where he'll need the break to recharge. My kind of issue with this whole, we need a new striker, I think it's just a bit lazy to say that. What I'm more concerned about is the fact that we very rarely give the ball into us. We're playing with a centre forward, and yet we're trying to create chances that a player would sort of run in behind and take, or a player that would sort of be in the 6-yard box to take. And Giroud isn't really that kind of striker. He's kind of more of a lurker in the 18-yard box. He's not a predator, I wouldn't say. And the one chance he had was really created by himself with one of those trademark sort of flicks at the near post, which was a superb save. But it wasn't like Monaco where he just missed everything. He didn't really have a great deal of service. And I also think that although he's not the classic sort of 10-goal-a-season striker with his head, I do wonder how many more goals he would get if we slung the ball into the box occasionally. Tom, do you think there's anything in that, or are you sort of more on the case, or do you think it's more that we should have a quote-unquote striker that will do it all himself, which, as far as I know, there's only two in the world like Messi and Ronaldo that actually create for themselves anyway. What path do you fall into on that one?
Well, as I said before about, I think we are capable of winning the title with Giroud, because he is a top striker. And I don't obviously you have strikers who, as you said about Messi and Ronaldo, who create their own chances, but you're not going to find there just isn't a striker out there we can go get at the moment that I think will really push us on. I mean, you look at Dom's stats about getting a 30-goal season striker, but at the end of the day, you're taking goals away from other areas of the pitch. I mean, I like what Akib said in the chat about we need someone who's really got passion and drive into the team, and I think Alexis has that, but maybe we do need one or two more people to really make a difference in terms of really driving the team on with the passion, really try and G up the rest of the players to get us forward and get that goal that we really needed.
Yeah, I agree with that. John, do you think that with regards to sort of the way we play, in a weird way, do you think we've got too many players that are a little bit the same? I mean, Alexis, Santi Cazorla, Mesut Ozil, they're all very intricate, very technical players. They all sort of like the quick feet, and a lot of them are more likely, given the position on the edge of a box, are more likely to shift it sideways and try and make an angle than they are to shift it 5 yards and have a ping. Do you think maybe
there's not enough... Say Ramsey's going to shoot. I've got it written down somewhere in my other abusive messages. But the amount of times Ozil was through, didn't shoot, passes, Cazorla does the same. I don't know if it's... We always seem to play so narrow and never use the width, which opens it up more for midfield runners. But I don't seem to want to shoot unless it's sort of 2-3 yards out from goal and it's an open net. So you definitely need someone with a different dynamic to the team to add in there.
And do you think that particularly when we brought Theo Walcott on, now granted, people are on the fence with Theo. I'll probably touch a bit more in depth on him in a minute, but that did seem to change. I don't know whether it was just the emphasis or whether we had a little bit more of a different idea, just something different, I guess, is the only way to put it. Look at the Tim has actually put in the stats. In fact, Tim, I'll come to you on this. Accidental Gooner, friend of the show, listening in, has tweeted a brilliant thing from the Stat Zone, which states that Arsenal attempted almost 800 passes in the game, and if you look at the heat maps, it's like somebody's either spunked on a glass table and spread it around a bit, or something less grotesque. But nevertheless, that's what it looks like. I'm very sorry. That's how my mind works. Tim, do you think that the variation is what we're lacking, rather than just turning and saying, oh, we haven't got the players? Do you think maybe it's just a variation that we need? Maybe the manager needs to sort of look at it again in the summer and think maybe I need we've been saying a plan B for a while, but I think we've had a plan B this season. Maybe now we need a plan C.
Yeah, just a little bit. Looking at that Arsenal map, you can see that there's very, very few passes that are going out wide. Mm-hmm. It's illustrated clearly there. Both ends. Very few passes going out wide. Everything's going massing through the middle. We need someone who can come in and actually cross the ball. And I'm not talking about an Alexis cut in and try to dink it over the top of the defense. I mean a proper crossed ball that makes the goalkeeper have to come off of his line, because then if you can get someone up in the air, like Giroud, who's, 6'4", I think? Olivier Giroud?
Yeah, something.
I think he's 6'4".
I'll look that up.
Get it onto him and let him get a hit and let him get a header. Instead they keep trying these low balls, which are more difficult to get to, I think, for him, because he's then got to time his jump. Okay, a higher ball gives him a little more time to try and reach it, I think. I don't know. Am I right in saying that?
I think so.
A high ball?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's easy to get a high ball, not a low one, right? So you get someone in who can actually put in high balls. And I think the one player who you've got in the team who can improve on doing that is probably Hector Bellerin, because he's already a pretty good crosser of the ball.
Yeah, the best two chances you've got were from Bellerin's crosses.
Yeah.
And he's 6'4", by the way.
Who else is there? There we go. So I was right. 6'4". Yeah. And then we've got nothing there from the left. You've got Alexis, who tried that nice little curveball coming out. John, I think, wasn't here when I said that earlier. But I said he tried the same little dinky ball, cut in, chip over the top. How many times in the second half? 10, 15 times? 20 times? It never came off. It's too low. It needs to be higher up. They've got to actually make the central defenders jump and try to work. They were just standing and heading it away, which is far too easy for them. Really, that's just giving them gimme saves, basically.
I kind of agree that I want to ask a loaded question here. Tom, I'll ask you. Why not? We talk about, and I'm not going to get into a manager debate here, because I'd quite frankly rather nip my pubes into my face and eat them, to be honest. But
your beard's not long enough.
No, it's not. I need to grow it out a bit more. Do we, with the situation we're in right now, do you think that maybe the beautiful football element, I'm going to compare us to Barcelona and Bayern Munich here, which is very dangerous, but you'll get where I'm going with this. When Pep Guardiola was at Barcelona, he won everything under the sun for a couple of years, and then teams found them out, and he tried to continue to play that way. If you look at what Bayern Munich have done this year, it strikes me as very much the same. If, however, you look at teams, I hate to say it, like a Chelsea, for example, even Chelsea to a degree, I think Mourinho, most people know what he's going to do style-wise, but nevertheless, he does change it to a degree for certain games, or there does appear to be an evolution in his teams. Do you think that maybe the manager's philosophy in what he wants the team to do, and i.e. he always wants us to play beautiful football and quote-unquote entertain people, do you think maybe we need to start mixing that up and maybe going with a right. Let's get ourselves sort of a few more 1-0s. I mean, I know we were doing that earlier on in the season, and then people weren't happy. So it's a very, very fine line. But do you think arguably that we need to change our whole approach for certain games, and maybe that teams are just looking at it and go, well, that's Arsenal. Maybe we need to take more of a direct approach almost and just change things completely.
I wouldn't say we need to change our style, because I think at the end of the day that's what actually like symbolises Arsenal, and it's something that like I find myself being very proud as an Arsenal fan, knowing that I can go watch my team play and watch them play some brilliant football and win games. And you're saying do we need to change our style to get that 1-0? But really, like to get that, we don't seem to be able to get that 1-0 no matter what we've been doing recently. Like we can throw the kitchen sink at a team and not get that one goal, no matter how we were throwing crosses in low. I thought we should have done more high, but we weren't throwing enough in my opinion. We're trying to play too centrally against a team who are playing 2 backs of 4 continuously until they hit us on the break. When you look at like Chelsea, I think they do play a different lineup. When they come up against the big teams, they put Zuma in that position in the CDM role, but our problems seem to be against the teams which not coming up against the big teams. We seem to have like swapped around sort of our philosophy in that we've worked out how to play against the big teams now, and now we've slightly forgotten how to play against the teams which are last season and the season before that we were easily getting past, because Arsenal were just known as a team that beat the teams they were supposed to beat and then not beat the teams that they like the top 4 teams.
I think there's an element of our play being very predictable though.
Yeah, I agree with that. They know that we're going to play a passing style, and we've only got one focal point striker, and maybe that's where you do need that other striker, and we could go 2 up top. But I don't see Wenger liking the 2 up top system, to be honest.
John, take us on from that argument. I think Tom, John, it's so confusing. I think Tom makes a good point there in that maybe we just, well, exactly what you said, really, Tom. I just think that maybe people are sort of looking at our philosophy and thinking, well, if we can't, like you say, we can't adapt our play to suit various oppositions. It's easy to change your play and get results against the tougher teams, which we have done. But like exactly what Tom said there, we've now struggled against the lower league sides. But on the flip side, and I'll give this to you again, John, to go into. Do you think that maybe the opposition we've played tonight in particular affected us? Because I don't know if you feel the same. I think if we'd got an early goal, that could have been 2 or 3, 4-1, really, couldn't it?
Yeah, if we'd taken any one of the chances that we had in the first half, then I think we definitely would have, taken that game quite easily. I would say that the same way in the Swansea game. That game was the same. If we'd scored early, I think we would have gone on to win quite comfortably. I think you have to give a degree of credit to Sunderland for defending quite so well. As much as I hate, giving anything to the opposition, but like what you were saying about Barcelona, whenever they played against teams that sat back like that, which was most of them, they still had their fullbacks really wide. They made the pitch as big as possible, which is something we never do. Bellerin is our only outlet at the moment. Gibbs was better in the second half, I thought, but we really need to exploit all that space out wide and put the ball in early. Stop checking back. It's something they've definitely got to work on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. To be fair, let's touch on a couple of players individually then. Tim, I'll come to you. I know he came on, so it doesn't really technically. Well, we should probably start with the starting lineup, but I won't. I'll go the opposite way, and we'll talk about Theo Walcott, Theo Watch, as it's now been known.
Because you hardly even see him.
Because you hardly even see him, exactly. John put a message in our WhatsApp group this afternoon, and I'm actually starting to think the same. 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, I thought, gone, done, dusted, bosh, see you later. The more time goes on, and the more that he's been sort of slowly edged into games the last few weeks, the more I think maybe, no, he isn't going to go and he will still be here. What was your sort of impressions of him tonight from a standpoint of coming on? Do you think that he in any way changed the game? Do you think that there's still potentially he's our next option?
Oh, gee, I really don't know. I think that completely depends on his wage demands that he's going to ask for. I think if he's willing to sign on for another 3 years at his current wage, it's very difficult to ask a guy to take a step down in terms of what he's earning. So I'm not sure that will be possible. But if they can get him to sign on for 3 years at his current wage, I think maybe he will be an option. If not, then yeah, then he can go as far as I'm concerned. He's only really offered a little bit in the past 2 games. He was decent tonight. He was decent. He wasn't brilliant. He was just decent. Brilliant is when you come on and you manage to score 3 goals in 20 minutes against that defense. That would have been brilliant. Even scoring 1 goal against that defense would have been a good game. But tonight he was just decent. I think if Theo goes, I think we already have a replacement at the club, and his name is Chuba Akpom. I think he can play a very similar kind of game to Theo. He's quite quick. He plays off the last man, and I think he could probably play on the right, as I'm pretty sure he's right-footed. So he's got attributes that are very similar to Theo. So if Theo goes, hey, thanks for the memory. Cool beans.
Somebody made a good point actually that I was listening to, and I can't think who it was. I've got a terrible memory. It must be my age. But somebody made a good point. They're talking about Theo. I think actually it's on the Football Ramble I was listening to today, and they were saying that what people seem to forget is he's coming back off of a very serious injury on top of a very serious injury that he had before this. So in effect, he's actually coming back off of 2 injuries, because obviously when he got the cruciate, he came back off of the previous injury. Was it the shoulder, I seem to remember? It kept him out for sort of 6 months. So in effect, he's almost coming back really off of a good 18 months, 2 years of layoff. If you exclude the few bits and bobs, which if Diaby ever comes back, Christ knows what'll happen. The world will explode, I think. But what I would say tonight is that with the Swansea game, he came on and he had, the pace was always be there, but he looked like he didn't have, even have a touch. He was just poking a leg at things, and he didn't seem to even be able to read the play. Against United, when he came on, again cameo, but he looked sharp. He isn't going to get that goal, but the fact that he was in that position was a plus point. And the shot he had tonight, I don't think he could have done much more with that shot. It was a good save. And it almost strikes me as a sort of, he may need a break, but there's flashes, there's just glimpses. I think it's very easy to write off a player. It's very, very easy to write off a player, and I just wonder whether maybe we've all been a bit knee-jerk. But speaking of knee-jerk, John, I want to talk about one of your favourites, Thomas Rosicky. Got a very, very brief cameo tonight. Could almost have won it really at the end. What do you think of him? I know Alan Smith made a comment in the commentary, and he said he's too good a player not to play, and I'm inclined to agree with that. Do you foresee a circumstance of him staying, or do you think that this is the swan song now, and he'll end up shaking his metal locks in another country?
I think he's gone, to be honest. It's disappointing because I love Tommy. He's one of my favourite players we've ever had at the club. And he was, unfortunate with injuries, shall we say, for his long period that he was out for, allegedly. But I read something today. I think it was Sparta fans doing a whip round to buy him back to the club.
Yeah.
I read that article. I thought that was quite funny. So whether he stays in the Premier League or goes back there, I don't know. Wherever he goes, I will always wish him well because he's a player I absolutely adore. I think he's a wonderful talent. I'd love to see him stay, but he could play once a week, every week. I think he's good enough for that. He's still got that ability in him. He's not going to get it at Arsenal, unfortunately.
No. He's almost like our Frank Lampard, isn't he? Do you reckon? As in, like how Man City use Lampard, I reckon we.
In sort of that way. Yeah, I get you. I get what you mean. I would have liked seeing him come on a bit earlier, actually.
Me too. Yeah.
But it's disappointing. He changed. He almost changed the game when he came on. But wherever he goes, I will wish him well. He's a wonderful player.
Yeah, well said. Tom, coming to you with regards to another player. I'm not going to get into goalkeeper watch because again, it's about as interesting as a Chelsea season end DVD. But
can I just say quickly on goalkeeper watch, even though we're not allowed to do it, I actually thought Ospina played really, really well.
That's just what I was going to say.
I'm going to give him some praise.
Cheers, John. Jesus.
Fuck off, John. Still in the show as usual. Right, Tom. What John's just said, is bang on. I thought he made 3 very good saves tonight. The one where he just stuck his wrist out, it reminded me of something like at Turner. It's like T1000. It was just like, poof, you will not fucking come through here. Thank you very much.
Tom's too young to know that film.
Yeah, fair point.
I don't think he was born when it was out.
More like the stone bloke in Fantastic Four? But it just reminded me of it was. Some people would probably say, well, it's not a very good save because he's put it back into play. But then those people would be fucking morons because it was hit at quite a pace from a short distance. But that was decent. The one-on-one I thought was very good because he stood up, arguably as long as possible. And I think Fletcher's reaction suggested that he thought he'd done enough to score. And then there was the save where he sort of half turned his ankle as well, which again I thought he stood up very well. We've been over, ins, outs, blah blah blah. But your thoughts on Ospina tonight after criticism last week? I thought he was back to form tonight.
Oh, sorry, I just had to pause just in case John wanted to jump in again. But I've always been a fan of Ospina, not so much Szczesny, but I've always been a fan of Ospina. I've never really understood the criticism. I don't think he was at fault last against Swansea game, but for when that goal got let in. But tonight, no, I thought he did really well. The save against, I think it was Fletcher. That was an excellent save. And then there was a follow-up one on the left-hand side from, I want to say it might have been Defoe actually. I think there was a second one, but I don't know. But he made 2 good saves that could have easily cost us the game playing any other team. And he's just not due the criticism that he gets at all. He hasn't, in my opinion, cocked up. That I can think of, properly cocked up. I'm sure someone will prove me wrong in the chat box, but honestly, I think we should get check-in, and that's my opinion, and either loan Szczesny out. I think there's Roma rumours going around at the moment, but yeah, I would get check-in because I think he does have quality. I think he could play for 3 years at least at the top hand. We were talking in the chat the other day about signing goalkeepers at a certain age. When Van der Sar signed for Man United at 34 years old and went on to be one of the best goalkeepers they've ever had. So Ospina very good, Czech better, and I think he would push us on for next season. I know you might disagree with that because I know you love Ospina a lot, but that's just my thoughts on it.
I don't disagree. I mean, for to chuck my 5 pence worth in, I said to you guys last night, I think Ospina is fine. I appreciate that he's not a name. I appreciate he's not fashionable, and he came from the French league, which although I love it, a lot of people don't. But he's also an international goalkeeper, so he has played at the highest level. Don't get me wrong. If I don't think there's any chance in hell we're getting Peter Cech, I just don't. I think he'll end up at Spurs, and I think Spurs will end up selling Lloris to United. But if there is a possibility of Cech, you would be mad not to sign him. It's almost like we're going through what we went through with Fabregas last summer, where it's like, we don't need him, but he's too good not to sign. So that'll be down to the manager. For my view, I don't think we'll even get another goalkeeper unless Szczesny goes. And I think if Szczesny goes, I think it would be very unlike Arsene Wenger to go out and replace what he deemed to be good enough, because he wouldn't have signed Ospina unless he thought he could compete with Szczesny, and that's clearly what he thought. When Fabianski moved on, Fabianski made Szczesny a better goalkeeper last year. And when Fabianski moved, it was clear to Wenger clearly that he had to bring in somebody to challenge Szczesny, and he has done. And Szczesny's, shit it basically, and that's his own fault.
Could I just about him replacing someone who's established, when the summer we signed Özil, and I think I personally can compare Özil as an outfield player in quality to Cech as in goalkeeping quality. And I don't think Wenger would be stubborn enough, even though when we signed Özil, everyone was crying out for a defensive midfielder, and we had loads of attacking players. But just because he is world class and he was available, Wenger went and got him. So I think if Cech is available and he knows he's world class and he knows he could add extra quality, I don't think he would pass up the opportunity, even if it meant putting Ospina to second place.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, and also the other argument to that, as you rightly say, is if Szczesny gets moved on, does he then look at it and think, right, now I need somebody to push Ospina? The one thing that we should say, of course, is that when Chelsea signed Petr Cech all those years ago, he came from the French league, didn't he? Was it Rennes he was at? I forget now.
Can't remember. Someone in the French league.
Someone in the French league, wasn't it? It might have been Rennes. I'll have to look that up. But when they signed him, we were in for him, weren't we? I think Chelsea got him because of money and all that bollocks. So it's clear that Arsene Wenger liked him in the first place. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll wait and see on that. Tim, what do you think with regards to sort of midfield-wise? We saw Jack Wilshere coming back into the starting lineup tonight. I know we touched briefly on him before. Granted, he played out of position. He looked sharp. What did you make of his performance in general tonight?
I thought Jack did all right. He's not a winger, so he's kind of being put out there to do a job that he's not really suited for. I think Jack is much better running with the ball at his feet through the middle, as he's able to hold on to the ball much better than most of the other Arsenal midfielders, bar Rosicky. He can keep the ball very close and generally draw fouls from opponents, which is always a good thing for us. Unfortunately, sometimes that brings injuries as well for him. But I would have given Jack a solid 7 out of 10 performance. I think he did all right, considering he came on to do a job in a position that's not his preferred one.
Yep, fair point. And one word answer: cup final place, yes or no? Do you want me to take home as your answer?
No, bench.
Yeah, I agree. It was Rennes, by the way, that Cech came from. So apparently my memory is still just about working. Here's another sweeping statement for you, John. I'll rattle this
Talking
one
about
at you.
Cech.
Go on.
Talking about Cech, there's I've just seen a tweet from the Sun Sports page that's going out for tomorrow. Bloody Jose at it again. There's some git named, I think it's either Rob Bradley or Rob Bragley, something like that, from the Sun Sport.
I think
it says Jose wants Theo or Ox for Cech. He is smoking some serious reefer if he thinks he's getting either of those players for Cech. I'm sorry. I mean, seriously, get off the crack, Jose.
I would agree. And also, I noticed the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail reported we'd opened talks for Cech, so obviously it's clearly a done deal because we all know they never lie.
And
so that's
and the Mirror.
John
Cross said something about that earlier as well.
Ultimately, if a journalist writes it, then it's got to be true. You know, it has to be true. So we will be buying.
They don't do anything but clicks or views.
We will be buying all the players. John, let me hit you with this little thing again. This is my opinion. Please don't throw bricks through my windows. It's my view. You don't have to agree with it. Laurent Koscielny, for me, easily one of the top 5 defenders in Europe. Thoughts?
Ooh, I'm just going through my brain now, thinking about defenders.
Obviously, it depends what you want in a defender, of course.
Yeah.
But
he's definitely up there. I think in the league, he's. I hate to say it. He's only behind John Terry.
I would agree. Badly.
But he's right up there. And I thought he looked a little bit off the pace tonight. So because they were saying he had flu.
Yeah, he was ill. Yeah.
Flu, but he still was one of the best players on the pitch. So I think you see how important he is to the team. My worry is that he's as good as he is. He's not a leader. He does need someone next to him to talk to him. Whether Gabriel is that player or not, I don't know. So that'll be interesting for next season. By the way, completely unrelated, I just noticed that you've got an Alien hoodie on, which is very cool.
I have.
So
yes.
It's a thumbs up.
A whale in I also have a Prometheus man bag, but that's another story for a rainy day. Very big fan of the Alien franchise. I agree with you on Cos. I personally think, I know a few people have said that in the chat box as well. I think people I know they brought up on the pod last week who could potentially be a future captain. For me, he's got that written all over him. Just a very quiet, goes about his business, does his job. You never. It's a cliche, but you never see him in the press. You never see him gobbing off. You never see him sort of, in the spotlight for the wrong reasons on the pitch. I just think he's getting better and better. And
Sort of bloke who he's 29, sort of guy who you'd insult, nothing to be said. You come home and you find him beating your wife to death with the family dog or something. He'd just look up at you and you just go, oh fuck, I shouldn't have pissed him off.
Beating the wife to death with the family dog.
Yeah,
But I mean, 29 is a good age, and
they're football. That's good.
No, he's the thing I like about Cos is that there's many things I like. One of the biggest things I like about him is the fact that he seems to be learning year on year from the mistakes he makes the previous year. When he first came, he's clearly a good athlete, but he was very Vermaelen-esque. He'd run around a lot and be out of position. Then he went through a spell where he got caught under the ball. Then he went through a spell where he couldn't sort of manage to keep runners. He seems to me to be developing every year, which is only a good thing as far as
there was a good example of that in the game actually when he won the ball and brought it out from the back because there wasn't a pass on, got into midfield, and then instead of he didn't keep running like he used to. He just laid it off and then moved back into position. Yeah,
he did a coquelin, as I like to now call it, win it and give it. And also the bit where he chased into the corner and he won it off of, I think it's off of Fletcher, and he played it against him, and it was just that the old Cos would have dived in and probably taken him through the corner flag, through the side of the ground and out the back. Whereas this time he just stood up and just ushered him to the side. But okay, fair enough. Well, that didn't go down as badly as I thought it might. I thought people would lynch me for saying that, but that's my view. Who's putting the microphone up the bum?
Tom is, I think.
Am I?
Tom. Yeah, you sounded all muffly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll let you off. You come in here and your microphone away. It's still doing it.
No, I'm pointing this out again. John died last week.
Yes, he did.
Rather tinged than that.
It's very true. Death by John. Let's do something else that's a bit random. I don't always like to do this, but Tom, we've got to give the opposition a bit of credit, haven't we? We are, aren't we? We are. But they came, they did a job. Lee Catamol is an epic cretin of epic, levels. But he ran his heart out. I think we've mentioned John O'Shea. We've mentioned Quartas, who's only come into the side in the last few weeks. The goalkeeper, obviously, and I thought Seb Larsson. I mean, Christ, I always liked him at Arsenal, but he covered some ground tonight. Dare I say? I mean, we got to give him a bit of credit, haven't we?
Yeah, no. I to be honest, I wanted them to go down. So, but I like some of their players. I like Van Arnholt. I think he's a very pacey left back who does a defensive job.
He's a Chelsea player. You can't say that.
I can respect other players. No, I like Jermaine Defoe. No, I'm joking now.
He's a gooner, it's alright.
No, I thought they played very well, but they countered really well, which, to be honest, I felt we should have let them come on to us more, rather than press them the whole time onto them. We should have let them come on to us a bit more and then hit them on the counter. Because that's, to be honest, that is our best outlet when attacking, is hitting them on the counter, which we haven't been doing. They got the best chance of the match, other than when Curtis tried to score for us. But yeah, so credit to them. Fair play for them staying up. I thought that the substitutions Advocat made were very good for the second half. The first half was so dull, and he went to try and win the game, and he had to draw, and he brought on Fletcher and Rodwell. So fair play to him. I actually like him as a manager as well. So I thought he done really well at Zenit, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yes.
He done well at, yeah. So no, credit to them, fair play, and let's not credit any more teams anymore.
No, I agree. I'm just going to read this out just purely because I want to see John's face. Latest rumours breaking tonight that Rafa Benitez could be the next Real Madrid manager. Just thought I'd chuck that out there,
I'd actually put a bet on that.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised.
Knowing Perez, there's already talk that Ancelotti's getting sacked this weekend, isn't there?
John, you should enhance that bid. Put the over-under on Rafa Benitez getting sacked within a year of appointment.
Oh yeah, definitely. He'll get his official interim title job somewhere, won't he?
And Carlo Ancelotti ends up at Man City, and I have to cry probably. But
he's only there for a year until Guardiola's free, and we don't.
Oh,
get
of course
him.
he is. Of course he is. Yeah. In fact, it wouldn't be surprised if they kept Pellegrini. Anyway, less about other clubs. I just thought I'd chuck that one out there. Right, I want to go to you all individually and chat box. I haven't forgotten you. Well, I might have forgotten Danny a little bit, but everyone else, I haven't forgotten you. I'll come to the chat box in a minute and we'll go through some of your questions. Just before we do, I want to cover one other topic with you guys. My good friend Gaz, I was messaging him in through the game, and he put a thing up at the end of the game or throughout the game, and he said, "Tactics Tim is probably sat there frantically scribbling in crayon, copy this into his little notebook," and it did make me sort of wonder. We have looked a bit lethargic the last few weeks. We have looked a little bit, quote unquote, on the beach. Whether that's just because we're gearing up for a cup final, whether it's because, in the back of your mind, it doesn't matter what anyone says. It's like if you're leaving a job, if you know you're leaving on Friday, you probably don't try as hard as you could on Monday because you know you're off. So maybe there is an element of a bit of switching off because we know we're going to finish third. Let's hope. Do any of you guys, and John, I'll start with you, do you have any concerns going into the cup final that the form is a bit patchy, that the players look a little bit lethargic, or are you confident that we'll probably eke out a win against West Brom and then go into it fresh?
Probably a draw or something, maybe a 1-0 against West Brom. It's a bit of a nothing game. I know it's mathematically possible that you can take our position, but it's like a 7-goal difference swing or something, so I can't see it happening.
You had a stat on that, didn't you?
Is it what? Yeah, I had a bet on that.
No, I was saying you had a stat on it of the what is it? We've got to lose 2-0 and United win 5-0 for it to go to a playoff.
Yeah, it's 7-goal difference. To get the playoff, yeah, I think that's correct. I think it's 2-0 loss for us, 5-0 win for them, and then everything's level, and then it's a playoff or some bollocks. I don't know. It's not going to happen anyway. Stop cursing yourself.
First.
Yeah, the form's disappointing. To be honest, I think we've been on a bit of a downturn since the Burnley game. We've looked like we've struggled a little bit. We've got results where we've needed them, and then obviously cocked up against Swansea. I don't think it's really going to matter too much because it's a cup final, so anything can happen in it. I don't think Villa can sit back. It's Wembley. It's a bigger pitch. It's just not the way they play. It's not the way Tim Sherwood likes to play. There'll still be a threat because they're a quick team, but I'm not overly concerned. Unless we get like a real drubbing against West Brom, then I'd be a bit worried. But I'll let the guys on the main pod obviously get into more detail on their thoughts for the FA Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose there's that small element of it's momentum, I suppose. But no, I'm kind of with you on that. I'm not too concerned. Tim, are you remotely worried? Is there anything you'd like to see happen? I mean, do you think some of the players are looking at it and thinking, well, I don't want to get injured before a cup final, and in which case would you like to see a bit of rotation for Sunday?
I'd like to see a bit of rotation anyway, because I think there's a bit of fatigue going on there in midfield. I think we raised the point on Sunday after the Man United game that several players have played a lot of minutes this season. Giroud, despite being out for 3 months, he's played a lot of minutes. Santi Cazorla, he's played, I think, every single league match this season. I think he's been involved. Yeah, we've got one or two guys who could probably use a rest. For Sunday's upcoming match against West Brom, I would put Wilshere in the middle next to Ramsey, and just to change it up a little bit, start Thomas Rosicky on the left and stick Alexis on the right. That would actually change things up a little bit. I don't know about sticking Theo up top, as unfortunately West Brom have got some pretty big centre-backs in Macaulay and Jonas Olsen. I think he's still there. Haven't seen him recently. That other fella, guy from Man City, his name Lescott, he's also quite a big guy as well. So unfortunately, I think because of Welbeck's untimely injury, I don't think Giroud's going to get much of a rest, because we don't have another big guy to stick in there with Sonago out on loan. I'm hoping if Welbeck is fit that he'll get some minutes on Sunday, maybe drag Giroud off after 55, 60 minutes and let Danny have 30 minutes just to give him some match fitness in time for the cup final. I think that would be a good idea. What do you guys think?
Tom,
Up
I'll
for that?
come to you. Do you agree with Tim there? And also, do you think that there could be a potential change in goal for that game on Sunday as well?
I agree with Tim in terms of starting Rosicky. I really want to see him start, because I love Tommy. So, in terms of danger, I said it on the last on the radio show that the last 3 goals that we've conceded have been from crosses, and Aston Villa are going to chuck balls into the box for Benteke all day long. So that's going to be an issue. I think the main problem with that is actually stopping the crosses in the first place. Which because Bellerin he's been excellent this season, but his one thing is stopping the production. That is the part of his game I think he does need to improve on. Same with Monreal's been excellent defending, but when they're hitting crosses on that left wing, which is I think that'd be in Zogby on that left side, so you'll be hitting across the box, and Monreal's probably going to start the FA Cup final, and if he gets dragged in like he did with Fellaini, then on the right-hand side, they're going to have Agbon Hall, most likely, it'll tap it in. So they need to work on that, the crossing side, I think, defending crosses a lot before the FA Cup game. For the West Brom game, I'm a bit annoyed because I'm actually going, and I was hoping that we would have won today, so there was a chance that we could have got second, and I've now paid money to go to a nothing game. But no, hopefully we'll smash them 5-0 and have nothing to worry about.
Well, for my just for my 2 cents worth, West Brom are in a very similar situation where they might have humped Chelsea on Monday, but it was their last home game of the season. They have nothing to play for. Hull have everything to play for, so that's one advantage we've got. I actually think you'll see Mikel Arteta start on Sunday. The manager said that he's been in full training really for 2 weeks now, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him come back into that game. I don't know what the situation is with Debussy because he was out tonight, wasn't he? I think so. I don't know whether that is again.
No, he's not in training.
Sorry, say that again.
Not in training, I don't think.
Not in training. Okay, so maybe
He's
maybe
got a hamstring issue.
Has he? Okay, well then that's probably not going to happen then I would guess. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Arteta, Rosicky would be lovely. I agree with Tim. I think it'd be nice to see Giroud get a rest, but that really does depend on Welbeck's fitness.
Can play. He's back from his loan.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, I just think the fact he's not been on the bench would make me think that they probably wouldn't go that route. But who knows? I guess. I do think Chesney might play that game. Strangely,
wave goodbye last home game of the season.
Yeah. Well,
didn't they play Fabianski in the last game of the season before the FA Cup final?
Yeah, I think they did, and I think it's almost like a good tune-up because I don't care what anyone says. Chesney's playing that cup final. I cannot see him not playing him in a cup final. So we might as well just get used to it now and accept it. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be.
He's going to throw one in the back of the net.
Oh, don't imagine him coming for crosses against Benteke. Oh God.
Oh, okay.
Oh, jeez.
However, what I would say to that is if Ron Vlaar and that Norwegian bloke play at centre half, then Okore, is it? Jesus, I mean
Danish.
Yeah, Danish. Sorry. If we turn up, Aston Villa, it should be no contest. But then so should Hull, so should Wigan, so should Reading. So as John said earlier, we'll cover that in the pod, I'm sure. Let's have a look at the chat box, just while people are chucking questions for us in there. I'll just give a few a few shout outs. We got Wiley out, we got Goom, we got Mark Anderson. I saw Catherine in North Carolina in Chicago turn up a little while ago. Some bloke called Danny, the GFP. I don't know that clown is. Who else we got in here? Ryan Hennick from the Arsenal My Blood pod. Do give that a listen this week. They had Arsblog on this week. Very good indeed.
Yes,
who else we got in here? Akib, friend of the pod. Good evening to you, Akib. Some bloke called Tom Canton. I don't know who he is.
No, that guy.
Muck D, that guy. Mark Ambrose, Daniel Cronin's in there. Loads of people. Rob Sinclair, that's a new name on me. Evening to you, Rob. Akshay Baliga, another friend of the pod. Alex Alves. Lots of people. Sorry if I haven't mentioned you. There's probably a reason why it is. It's because I hate you. No, I don't. Right. So please do put some questions up in the box, and We'll see. Oh, okay. First question from Danny. Should apricots be crunchy? No, Danny. They should never be crunchy. Actually, I've got quite a light-hearted question for you. It's from my mate Gaz again, and he asked me to ask you this, so I'll ask you all this question. What's your favourite flavour of crisps? John?
Oh, fuck! It depends on the mood I'm in. I don't know.
That's a good question.
This is the much thought you put into every question.
I know what it's going to be. It's going to have to be prawn cocktail, just because you know, smell your mum.
Oh.
So,
Prawn cocktail.
Even that, or scampi fries are good for that as well.
And any advance
bag
on
of
that?
scampi fries, and then you can have a little sniff and go, "Oh, Ibiza, 2002, lovely."
Oh God! Any advance on that, Tom? Anything you'd like to add to that?
I don't want to say anything else after that. Cheese and onion standard.
Cheese and onion, good. Anything extravagant in South Africa, Tim, that you can chuck into the mix?
Oh, not really. Barely eat crisps anymore, actually.
Oh, come on, Tim, play the game.
I don't think you can after John. He's been playing quite a bit there, apparently.
You could have come up with something really exciting like wild burnt gazelle or something. There must be something over there that
That sound like
really
lion
bizarre.
flavour, or yeah.
Oh, there's of course peri peri, but that's not foreign to you guys anymore. Go to any Nando's and have peri peri, I think.
Oh yeah, no, footballers' favourites. Oh, somebody's just put pickled onion Space Raiders McD. That's a good shout. Beef Monster Munch, another good shout there. Yes. Who'd have thought this question would have so much interest?
This has got the most answers in the chat box than anything else.
Yeah. McCoy's cheese, another good one there.
Cappuccino.
That is Akshay. I need to give you my address, and you need to send me those immediately.
Actually, we need a picture of these crisps and put it up on
Yes.
Twitter. Tweet the pod account and get it retweeted.
We really do. We need to have those immediately. If anybody does have any football-related questions, please do feel free. Just come in. You know, on a night of a 0-0 at home to Sunderland, there ain't much to talk about.
Akshay has got one. Go on, Kris. I'll ask you this.
Mm.
What do we need to do tactically to get us through these games? Who should be calling out for a plan B on the field? And for starters, what should that plan B be?
Plan B. Oh, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because I get the impression, whether you like or don't like the manager, I get the impression that he is very much a calm presence. I don't think he would. I don't think he likes his players to go into business for themselves. I.e., I don't think he really wants that shouty, screamy type of player. I don't think he wants a player that's going to quote unquote grab the team by the balls and change things around when it's not going well, which whether people like that or not, I don't think that's his style. I mean, the second part of that question, the plan B, I guess the only thing you could say is the plan B needs to be what we said earlier. I think crosses into the box, whether that be low or high, just an early ball in from time to time. You know, our build-up is always very methodical and very carefully thought out. I'd like to see us sling it once every while, and maybe in the transition as well. I think sometimes we're a little bit one-paced. I think it would be, you know, when we play at our fast-paced best, it's brilliant. But I don't think we see enough of that. I think there's too much of a ponderous build-up, and sometimes just that sort of long ball from deep, or you know, a cross-field ball and an early cross would give us a secondary option. So that's my best answer for that one. We got another question actually. Mark Anderson's put one in here. Let me ask Tim this one. What do you think your reaction would be if Arsene Wenger signed Bale and Czech during the summer and ship out Mikel, as in Arteta, Diaby and Thomas only? What do you think the reaction would be if that was to happen?
Well, I think obviously most Gooners would be quite happy with that. I don't think Arteta is a terribly popular player amongst a huge number of the fans. I think he is a bit of a polarizing player. As that's Mikel Arteta. As for Thomas Rosicky, I think many of the fans would actually be upset to see him go because he's stuck by us for a long time. Who was the third name you mentioned?
He was saying if we shipped out Mikel, as in Arteta, Diaby and Thomas Rosicky.
Diaby.
Yeah.
Diaby, he's been done for a while for me. Unfortunately, he was a world class player, but those injuries just ruined him. Bloody Dan Brown from Sunderland.
Yes.
Assholes.
Yeah, I agree.
And bringing in Bale, I just can't see it. The Real Madrid president likes him too much. And quite clearly, he doesn't really give a stuff what the fans think because he signed Bale. He was a driving force behind signing Bale. He's not going to get rid of him. So, no, he doesn't. Perez doesn't give a stuff about what the fans think. He doesn't give two hoots. As for Czech, who knows? I mean, if that thing in the sun is even remotely correct, Czech won't be coming.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that he's going to swap Walcott or Ox for Czech. That's insane.
No, I totally agree with that. That's a load of old bollocks. Question. I've got one question for Tom, and then I'll come to John. Question for you, Tom, from Goon. It's a pretty straightforward one. Should we sign? I'm going to do the action. Sterling.
No.
It's hands out.
Oh, sorry.
I'd say no, but if they said they'd do a swap deal for Walcott, then I'd say yeah. I don't think we should go out to sign him, but I think just because he's 6 years younger than Walcott and just as good, in my opinion, yeah, why not?
Fair enough, yeah. We had a conversation with this, didn't we, in the WhatsApp group last night, where I was wandering home at some ungodly hour, and I thought I'd ask you all. So, yeah, for me, nah, I don't know.
I don't think you can buy a player who's naturally unbalanced. If his hands aren't out like this,
it's just wrong, isn't it?
backwards because his arse is so fat for somebody
you know
so
what?
short. It doesn't make any. He's biologically. There's
It
no.
just looks
I don't
wrong,
understand.
doesn't it? It looks wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know, I never thought I'd ever agree with Phil Thompson, and I feel disgusting for doing so. But I think he had a good point. I think Souness made the same point as well, so agreeing with two of them. But they said that apparently Sterling was saying that he will challenge Rodgers and say, look, I need to leave because I want Champions League football. Well, he had Champions League football with Liverpool this year, and he didn't turn up. So I'm wondering if that, it's a fair point, isn't it? He didn't do a lot. I'm granted the kid's 20, and I suppose, if you're looking at Walcott moving on and him potentially coming in, then yeah, I guess logically you're swapping what's Theo 26 now? Is he 27?
26 now,
26.
yeah.
So you are getting somebody arguably with 6 years more growth, but then I don't know. For me, Sterling, I'm not sure the end product's there, but and if I had to put money on it, although he said he wants to move to London, I think he'll take the money of Manchester. I think we'll see him in a blue shirt next year, personally. Which, funnily enough, opens up the door for James Milner, who I've openly said I'd be quite happy to have him. Particularly if we get rid of 3 squad players. If we're getting rid of a Flamini and a Diaby and a Rosicky, I think James Milner is arguably those 3 players in one. Obviously not the same
and
individually,
Podolski.
and Podolski potentially. Yeah, I think he could do a job for us, so I would quite happily have him. But the question I want to ask you, John, was from our very own Danny, and he was just saying that last season we got 79 points. This season we have 72. And could get to 75. Is it progress? Granted, we're 4 points worse off. Have we made progress or haven't we?
It depends what you take as progress. If we win the FA Cup, finish 3rd, I don't know if we've made league progress. We've made a mental progress in those away victories to the big teams. I think that's definite improvement. I don't know if we've actually improved in our overall league performances. It's really hard to say because of the amount of injuries we had at the start of the season. The squad balance is better now than it was. Part of that is down to luck, which I know you don't like to reference, but yeah, there is a bit of luck in like Coquelin and players like that coming in. So I think it's more we've maybe like if you could measure it, it's like tiny incremental progress. But I think it's also Man City have been awful, and so have United really, and the rest of the league. Hate to say this, but the Premier League is shit. Basically.
No, I agree. Yeah. I know you and Tom had a good debate on that the other day, and I think there's a for and against argument on that, but I'm inclined to agree. I think a lot of teams have gone backwards this year, and arguably only really Southampton and Swansea, in my opinion, have gone forwards. Really, Chelsea have. Who? Sorry.
La Liga is worse.
La Liga is worse. Yeah, I agree. And I'm gonna fly my tricolor and say the Liga is not actually as terrible as people think, but.
It's really violent. I like the tackles in it. It's great.
It is, yeah. You get some proper rape. It's great fun.
Yeah.
Can't believe I just said that.
Just on the Milner thing, I do think he'll actually end up at Liverpool.
Yes.
Just because with Gerrard gone, and if they lose anyone else, he will get to play centre mid, which is where he's wanted to play ever since he left Aston Villa.
Aston Villa, yeah.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is his real position, which I think a lot of people do forget. But he is a superb player, and if you had him, I think you said the other day, playing where Ramsey has been on that right-hand side, again, he wouldn't want to. It's not where he wants to play, but he's marvellous. I personally, I'd like to see us change our entire system and have 2 box-to-box midfielders. Forget this defensive midfield nonsense, bollocks to that.
Yeah.
Have Ozil behind a striker and have Ramsey and someone like Milner or Raja Nainggolan, please.
Yeah, him of the hair. We do need a heavily tattooed, terrible haircutted man again, don't we?
Hamsik.
Really hard.
Hamsik, yeah. He does. He does. Debussy, fair point. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys a question here, and I'm going to ask this to the chat box as well. So, it's odd for me to turn it on its head, but I'll ask the chat box the same question. So do put your thoughts here. Dom's favourite, Morgan Schneiderlin. Now, I was listening to the Guardian pod this week, and Julian Laurens put forward the very...
Times.
Sorry, the Times, you're right. Sorry, my humble... they all blend into one, John. It all clusterfucks into one.
Sorry, I'm being a real pain in the arse, aren't I?
Yeah, fuck off. No, you're absolutely right. Julian Laurens was on the Times podcast with Gab Marcotti, and he made the very point that I've made briefly a couple of occasions, and I've worried for a while. And he was simply saying that Morgan Schneiderlin is possibly not the answer to Arsenal because he's never played Champions League football. He's never even played Europa League football. The limited appearances he's made for France, whilst he's not done badly at all, he's done a solid job. He's not particularly highly thought of in France. That doesn't mean anything, it doesn't mean he's a bad player. It just means that they don't particularly fancy him, and who would, quite frankly, when you got Blaise Matuidi ahead of him. My question to you three, and I'll start with Tim on this one, and to the chat box. Keep it brief, but from all three of you, Tim first, do you think that is an issue with the Schneiderlin situation, or would you still be happy as if he was our number one target if we were to bring in a player in that role?
I think we can actually do better than Schneiderlin. He is a fine player. He's had 2 decent seasons at Southampton. Well, 2 decent seasons in the Premier League with Southampton anyway. I can't say I saw them much in the Championship. But I think we can do better than Schneiderlin. I think Southampton are probably asking a little bit too much money for him. I seem to recall seeing a tweet somewhere that said they want at least 25 million for him. I think that's a little bit much. I suggested in the WhatsApp group earlier on, left a voice note for you guys, Joshua Guilavogui. He's still on loan at Wolfsburg from Atletico Madrid, and if they manage to hang on to Mario Suarez, I can't really see Guilavogui getting into that team. So it might be worth our while to have a cheeky pop for him. And by the way, he's got 7 caps for France, which I think is more than Gonalons and Schneiderlin, I think.
Yes, I think you might be right, yeah.
And he's 24, so he's not a completely young, undeveloped player. He's had a pretty good loan at Wolfsburg this year. They have played some pretty good football there in the Bundesliga, so I wouldn't mind seeing him. There's also, of course, our other targets in one of the benders, either Lars or Sven, whichever one. Sven's more of a sitting game while Lars is a box-to-box.
Yeah, sorry.
What?
No, everyone loves
the word bender.
Everyone loves a pair of benders.
Everyone loves a bender. Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry. It's a long day.
I think honestly, it's Man United for Schneiderlin because they're stupid enough to pay 25 million. I don't think he's worth more than 20 personally, because again, citing that lack of experience that Julian Laurens mentioned.
Speaking of stupid, I actually think he'll end up at Spurs because they're the sort of team that will pay stupid money. And don't get me wrong, I think Schneiderlin is far better than that lot, but I've just got a feeling. Do you know what it reminds me of? Almost when they signed Capoue. Remember they signed Capoue and he was tearing up trees for, was it Napoli he came from? That's right, sorry. And they thought he was really good. and he went to Spurs and his career just died. And I hope that doesn't happen because I think Schneiderlin is decent. Tom, do you have a view on this?
I am a supporter of the Dom lover, so I don't buy into the fact about the international football because you talk about Blaise Matuidi and all that. And to be honest, even if he's not in the national setup, it's kind of a plus for us if it means he can't get injured while he's on duty because he's not going to be going on duty. So, in terms of other names, I've always been a big fan of Luis Gustavo. I was really annoyed when we didn't sign him from Bayern Munich and he went to Wolfsburg.
Yeah.
Mario Suarez is another one I like. I put it in the chat this morning. I think he's a tough tackler. He's a hard worker. He's a really good distributor of the ball. He'll add to the Spanish contingent we've got at the club, which also, when you think about it, I'm quite a big fan of us bringing in another Spanish speaker for the help of Gabriel's integration because it has been noted about there isn't too many Spanish speakers around the club, and it could help with that. I know it's quite far-fetched, but I think it's just a point to make. But yeah,
I don't think that's far-fetched at all. I think that's an excellent point because we've talked on this show a number of times. I think you've been on when we've discussed this, where we've said that it's not necessarily about the name we go for. It's more about how the player fits the system and the setup we have. So I don't think that's mad at all, to be honest. I think that's the sort of thing Wenger would think about, if anything.
It's the same with my view on bringing on a wide forward, it being either Draxler or I know it being a dream, but Muller, because then it adds to the German side of things. So that would be my thinking on that as well.
I hate using this analogy, but it's the FIFA chemistry aspect, isn't it?
Yeah. No,
I hate using that analogy because I'm not for a minute suggesting that we should sign players from FIFA because that would make me a cunt.
Oh, can I point out that Marcel Sabitzer got his team of the season card today?
Yes, he did. I saw that earlier.
Fuck off, you hipster! Come in here with your fucking
That's
player.
from the community as well.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, and you brought him up, and I can 100% confirm that he is indeed a very talented player. And I broke your dreams, didn't I, last night when I said about a little rumour I've heard. But yes, yeah. But anywho, John, wrap us up on that one. Anybody you want to throw into the mix, or would you be happy with Schneiderlin, or are you on the fence?
You wanted a quick answer to this, didn't you? Yeah, I like.
Take as long as you want.
Yeah, I like Schneiderlin. He's a good player. If he's our number one target, there's other players that I prefer over him, but I wouldn't at all be disappointed if that's who we went for. To be perfectly honest, that's about as quick as I can make it. There was a I know you hate talking about transfers, but we've had lots of questions, and so I just thought it'd be nice and easy. Do this. Akshay has asked, which 3 players would you buy in the summer? And I'll make it even more fun for you. You can have 3 that you're never going to happen, but you'd really like to see. But then your 3 realistic ones. See how quickly you can do that.
Okay. Right. Let's give Tim. Let's give Tim first. If we all just give names, and then if there's any interesting ones, we'll discuss them. Tim, you go first.
Okay. Muller, Messi, and Umtiti.
Okay, so that's his 3.
One end of the spectrum to the other.
And your 3 realistic targets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, my 3 realistic targets. Gulavagi, Lacazette, and Draxler.
Who? Draxler. Okay.
Draxler.
I love Akshay's comments straight away. Kris, you can't say Lacazette. It's like I will. Tom, what do you reckon?
I'm realistic. I'm going to say Bale, just mainly because it'll piss off the Spurs fans. And another unrealistic, Muller. I'd have Bale and Muller. I'd take them both, but Muller up front. And as a CDM, Javi Martinez, but very unrealistic. Realistic signings, Schneiderlin, Draxler, and Cech.
Interesting. John, I'll let you have a go before I astound you all with my stupidity.
Right, my 3 unrealistic signings, Pogba, Marco Verratti, so that's 2 midfielders, and Carlos Tevez, even though he's old, I think he's exactly what we need up front. But for realistic ones, I would go, can I split Lars Bender or Christopher Kramer. I think either of them are realistic. One of those two. Czech, I do think, as much as I've said Chelsea won't sell to us, I think they will if we spend enough money. Is a realistic signing. And a striker who I can't think of because there aren't any. So you'll have to make one up because there isn't one.
I could give you a striker if you want. My unrealistic ones. Well, actually, I would actually put Lacazette in my unrealistic ones because I genuinely don't think he'll move. I think it's actually quite admirable to hear him and Fekir talk about Leon as they do, and that they really want to be part of that project. And it's actually quite nice to hear that from a modern day professional. So I for one hope he does stay there. Unless he comes to us, I hope he stays there forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So he'd be my unrealistic striker. My unrealistic defender. Actually, I quite like the idea of Javi Martinez. I think Tom's got a point there. Pele, Maradona, and best. Brilliant, Goon. Thank you.
That's very good.
So yeah, I'm kind of with you that one. So I don't think that's unrealistic. I think you might be. I think you might be sort of counting your chickens a bit too far. I genuinely think that could be doable. Another unrealistic one. I can't really think of another unrealistic one, to be honest. Other than saying Yashin, yes. What else do we need? Goalkeeper. See, I don't want a goalkeeper, so I can't really say that. Well, I'll say Matuidi if you want an unrealistic one, because I'd love him in the midfield. As far as realistic targets, to answer Danny's question, in fact, I'll combine two questions into one, because Danny said that we need a. I'll see if I can find the exact words he used, but I think he said we need
Aguero, Ian Wright type.
Aguero, Suarez, right? Yeah. Now I don't think there's any of those about, but I'll tell you what there is about, and he's been forgotten recently, especially this season. There is a lad at Porto called Jackson Martinez, and if you want. Do you remember when I said on the radio show a few weeks ago, and I said that I wonder, or actually it might have been on the pod, but I said I wondered how good Manuel Adebayor could have been if he wasn't such an epic bellend. Yeah. I wonder if Jackson Martinez could be. I think he's got to move this summer because he really should have gone last year, but for whatever reason that didn't happen. I think Juventus were primed and ready, and they went for Llorente instead, which is I think the reason they didn't get him. They've bought Vincent Abubakar.
Too much money.
That's right. Yes, very true. Yeah, I think that's probably put. I think Atletico were interested as well before they got Mandzukic, but yeah, I mean, I think they've got Vincent Abubakar who's ready-made to step in if he was to move. And they like him over there. He started to play well towards the end of the season. So I can see Jackson moving, and I think a big, physical, powerful. He's quick. He's a bit of a predatory striker, but he can create on his own as well. I just wonder. Maybe it's a bit of a hipster choice, but
no, I do like him. It's weird when I watch Danny Welbeck. I look at him and his physical frame, and I think. Oh, you're Jackson Martinez, but without the finishing.
Without the size, exactly, yeah.
Well, he's still big and he's fast as well, and he's got all that about him. So maybe having someone like that at the club would help him. I don't know, but
he's 28 years
old.
A
good shout.
I didn't realise he was that old. I thought he was like 25. He's 28.
No, I thought last season would be the summer for him to move. It's a bit like someone like Gonalons or Gorkov. They're sort of.
Oh, Gorkov is not going to happen.
Left.
No, Metro said it is. It's going to happen. Honestly.
Oh, it's done. Done deal.
Done. Honestly, it's done deal.
Have we been linked with Kalu yet?
Oh Jesus Christ! Don't.
I like that. Brahimi at Porto.
Brahimi's quality. Yeah. He will end up going for big bucks somewhere where he won't be used though. He'll probably go somewhere like. Actually, I can see him at Dortmund weirdly. And there's your other one. If you want to go shopping for a striker, I wouldn't say him. I'd say Aubameyang. If you want striker, if you want somebody with a little bit of Gervinho, but with a few years, he's lightning. I mean, he's. The thing is with Dortmund is really, I think Dortmund this summer is going to be a shopping market because you've got a completely new manager coming in who's got very specific views on what he wants his players to do. I think there's the lads.
Meyer. Is it Meyer?
What's the lad called? His name's.
What, Thomas Tuchel? No, he was. He's Tuchel, isn't it?
Tuchel, yeah, he was at Mainz. Is it Mainz?
What team's he at? The manager?
No, Mainz.
He's at Mainz. Yeah.
Is it Meyer then?
No, Meyer's at Frankfurt, isn't he?
What's the lad who's ripping up trees that everyone's? Oh Christ! Got Shit. Begins with a G.
I'm on FIFA now. I want to have a look.
Bollocks. He's very highly thought of, and I cannot. Johannes Geis, that's the guy. And also the goalkeeper. I think those two are primed for Dortmund moves. And I think there'll be a lot of players moving out. Gundogan is pretty much gone.
CDM
is going.
Is it CDM?
Yes, so he's a deep line playmaker, but yeah, he's hugely talented. So, Dortmund could be primed for a raid.
I thought of a striker.
Go on.
Alvaro Morata. Very unlikely, but I'd love him.
Well, we had the chance, didn't we? We had the chance.
And if he goes up for sale, Madrid have got a buyback clause, unfortunately.
Yes.
Although hopefully he turn around and tell him to fuck off.
I think it's more likely that we would go after Llorente if we were going to go after Juventus. Not sure. I mean, it's like for like in Giroud, isn't it? But yes, we shall see. I can't think of anybody else to bring up as far as realistic goes. So I'll draw a line under that. The only other one that's a bit completely left field is if we needed, depending on the Jenkinson situation and the fitness of Debussy, there's quite a lot of talk that Piszczek will move on as well, and I've always liked him. And I think he's the sort of player that can play. Yeah, and he's the sort of guy that could play either a right midfield role as well as a right back role. So he'd be one I'd like, but we can't have them all, can we?
Kind of like a Lauren.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah, almost converted. Right, let's see if there's anything else in the chat box before we get the fleck out of here. What's Ryan put? Saying at the age of 28, stop proving goals. Yeah, I mean, he's made a point here about Luca Toni and Di Natale still banging in goals at 37, and I agree with that. One thing I would say is the caveat with that is the Serie A defence thing, which is a very old and boring argument, but there's no denying that older strikers do get a lot of joy in Serie A. That's just a fact. The
entire team is built for Luca Toni at Verona as well. That entire squad is trained to get the ball to him in the 6-yard box, and that's it.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And closer at
both those guys are lethal finishers.
Yes.
Both those guys are brilliant finishers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you stick it to them anywhere on their feet in the box, odds are they're going to score. Not even 6 yards out, can be further out. Those two boys know how to finish.
Yep. Perhaps we could go after Robin Van Persie. He'd be...
Oh, God. For what? For fitting concrete shoes?
What a hilarity that man's career has become.
I thought of another player if we didn't go for a striker. If we do sell Theo, I'd like to buy Felipe Anderson.
Oh.
He's no Charlie Adam though, is he?
To be fair, Charlie Adam does a double job, gets you goals and can defend.
Yeah, I mean, we can sit here and sit in the chat box for hours on end and talk about names, but we all know that Arsenal will bring in some kid who works at McDonald's in Nigeria for £7. So,
Indy Elliott works for KFC, not McDonald's.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Indy. Yeah, I mean, we and also we've forgotten about someone like a Bielik. I wonder what's going to happen with him. I think he was mentioned earlier on in the chat. So
Gnabry, Akpom, those sort of players as well.
Absolutely.
Whether Sonogo comes back.
Yep, Gnabry's off to the under-21 tournament, is he? You said that about that, Tim, didn't you?
Yeah.
So it's a big summer for him.
There was a goodie on Arsblog about him earlier on today. He said he's focusing on getting fit for next season. He says pre-season is going to be very important for him, and before that, his focus is on the European Under-21 Championships with Germany. So that's what he's focusing on.
Keep in mind as well.
Good for him.
Keep in mind as well that tournament is going to provide a lot of interesting, potential targets for clubs. It's always a big market. The younger the player is, and the more talented they are, the more likely, especially a club like us that likes to bring in younger talent, you can bet your bottom dollar that we'll have scouts there.
Yeah, they also had a bit on the preliminary 27-man squad that England are taking. It's a couple of ex-Arsenal and current Arsenal players in there. I believe Jenkinson got selected. Yep. He's going to be going. Former Gary Benica is going.
Yep.
I think.
Yep. Chambers. Well, he's almost been forgotten, hasn't he, the last few months? Yeah.
There's one, not to actually go into a specific signing, but there is one thing to consider when you're thinking about any signs you make for older players, more established ones, is they're only going to come now if they're guaranteed a place, because this will be the season leading up to European tournament.
Yeah.
So, which is why, like when we were saying earlier about Milner, I would say more likely Liverpool because he's going to play every game, whereas with us he's not. So
Yeah. Same
yeah,
with
think about that.
it's exactly the same reason why Lacazette and Fekir are very unlikely to move, because the tournament's in France. They're going to play every game for Lyon. It's a perfect shot window for them to play in going into that summer tournament. So I agree with that. I tell you, I actually just thought of another one. See, these are these names that come off. If Santi Cazorla was to move on, and I put my hand on my heart straight away and say I hope he doesn't, because I love him. If he was to move on, would you take Mario Götze in that role? Because I would.
Yeah, I would.
Because I think he's going to move this summer.
No.
Nope.
Not remotely interested. Too much money for an overinflated ego arsehole who couldn't care about the club he's at, just wants the money. Everyone's like, "Whoa, he scored the goal in the final of the World Cup." Well, yeah, that's all he did. I know it sounds stupid saying that's all he did.
I'd rather have Royce
massively overhyped.
Yeah. No, I think it's a fair point. It's a fair point. I wanted to chuck it out there just to be mischievous.
He's a German Sterling.
German Sterling.
a Deutschmark, if you will, for all not to remember them.
And actually, I just said, what about Rio as well? I think he's gone. He's on loan, isn't he?
He's done his bit of advertising in the Asian market.
In the Asian market, yes. We should say as well, congratulations to Giovanni van Bronckhorst, who's the new Feyenoord manager.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken. So good luck to him. Another Arsenal.
And your namesake, Freddie Ljungberg, got his UEFA B licence today.
He did indeed. Yes, I'm hoping to get him on board for the Pirates for next season, but talks are in a stalling process at the moment. Apparently, it all depends on what underwear I provide for him, which is a shame. Well, on that note, I don't think there's a lot more to say, really. So I will just chuck across to you all to, if you want to give a gentleman's nod or whatever you want to call it to anybody. Tom, anybody you want to mention, or if you want to give the Instagram a little pluggy-roo?
Yep, Instagram, go follow it. I think we're nearly pushing 200 followers now, so
I think we are.
Yeah, go follow that. I want to give a little gentleman's nod to Mo from Arsenal Fan TV. I've received many retweets from my reply to his tweet, so yeah, go retweet it.
Divides opinion, that man, doesn't he? Tim, anybody you want to give a mention to?
The normal chaps. Thanks to you guys for inviting me on again. Just fun. As always, to the boys at Gunnerstown. For those of you on Twitter, at Gunnerstown. Lovely website run by Dave Seeger and Nils and Invinci Blog, also known as Paul. Give Gunnerstown a follow. There's articles out every day. And of course, shout to very own other Jeff, who does a similar kind of job for at the Berkey blogs. Jeff does some good stuff. He does some fun editing, good writers on both those sites. Go check him out.
Yeah, good shout. Big up, G. Busy man. I went all black then. Sorry about that. John, anybody you would like to shout out to?
I was just looking through my Twitter. Well, everyone in the chat box. Akshay in particular, because he was the first person to tweet when we said we were doing the radio, to say that we should talk about shepherd's pie because it'd probably be more interesting, which made me laugh. And I was just looking for the last person who started following me. Someone called Steve-O at the Gunners 24/7. So yeah, I'll just give it to the last person who followed me. So yeah, go follow Steve-O.
That's a good shout. Actually, I'll just give. Actually, just tweeted me a picture. He's tweeted a picture of those cappuccino crisps.
Ah, fantastic!
Oh, that's awesome. Fantastic. I'm going to retweet that right now. Quality. Actually, he's a top man. So shout out to him. My last follow was James Middleton. So hello, James. Pleasure to have you on board. He's at James Midser. Actually, I should give a shout to Spaceman Spiff as well, because I've just realised that he sent us loads of questions.
Oh, I did that last week. Last week.
And he said, welcome back, I've been missed. So the check's in the post, Spaceman. Appreciate that. Yeah, he always interacts well, and he's made a couple of good points, actually. So I do apologise, Spaceman. I got so carried away with the enthralling chapter of a 0-0 draw with Sunderland that I forgot to go on. And no, my shout out is to Danny for constantly taking the piss out of me all the way through this. So thanks, Danny. You truffle shaped oaf.
Oh, very important to remind everyone of the guest tomorrow.
Absolutely,
Oh, yeah.
yes. Yeah, absolutely. We have the former Arsenal, well, it'd be fair to say reserve keeper, I would guess, Swedish player Rami Shaban, who's going to be on the podcast tomorrow. I believe it's Gimli, Jeff, and Jason, I think I'm right in saying.
Yeah.
And the fat man will be pushing his knobs as usual. So he'll be there as well. So yes, absolutely. That's pretty much it, I think, from me, really. Pirates donations page is still open. If people want to have a look at that, feel free. And obviously the ABW donation page is open if you've got a couple of quid and you want to chuck us our way. What have you put there? Hugs for Tom. Brilliant.
Oh, wonderful. That's
Hugs
again.
for Tom. Absolutely. Thank you for that, John.
That was an important part of my notes during the game.
Absolutely crucial part. Almost like a heat map, the way it looks.
Oh, can I? Have you donated the hair to the raffle yet, John?
No, I'm going to get my ball sack waxed.
God. I can think of no better place to end this than on a ball sack reference after a 0-0 draw at home. So, as usual, thank you to Danny. Thank you to all of you guys for coming on tonight. I appreciate it.
No worries, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
No problem.
Cool beans. We will be back on Sunday. I've got a football tournament in the morning, so hopefully I'm not broken. If I'm not, I shall be on here. I shall be dragging Danny out of bed whether he wants to or not, so he'll be on. And then one of these other two fine gentlemen I'm sure will be about. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you to all the people joining us in the chat box. That was ABW Radio Live. And we'll see you on Sunday for another enthralling 0-0 draw. Cheerio.
See you later.
Ta-ta.
Bye.